We've been sold a lie, the kind that sounds sweet but silently poisons your potential. That lie? That life should be easy, that if it's hard, something must be wrong, that comfort is the goal, that struggle means failure. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. The more you wish for things to be easy, the weaker you become. And the weaker you become, the harder life gets. It's a trap. The desire for ease makes you soft. The addiction to comfort makes you brittle. It convinces you that effort is suffering, that obstacles are personal attacks, that challenge is unfair. And slowly, without realizing it, you trade growth for relief. You trade power for passivity. You trade the chance to be strong for the illusion of peace. But life doesn't play by that fantasy. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It throws storms your way, with no warning and no apology. And when that storm comes, because it will, the ones who wished for ease are the first to fall. The ones who built themselves on comfort shatter when things get real. But the ones who trained for hard, they don't break, they rise. That's the shift. That's the moment your whole perspective has to flip. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this trying to make of me? Because life is not about avoiding resistance. It's about becoming strong enough to face it and win. Think about a muscle. It only grows when it's challenged. It only strengthens under tension. You don't lift pillows to build power. You lift what's heavy. You push through pain. You struggle. And the very act of that struggle, repeated, consistent, intentional, is what transforms weakness into strength. So why would your mind, your heart, your character be any different? People say they want to be confident, disciplined, focused, but when life gives them the chance to develop those traits through failure, frustration, rejection, they run. They call it toxic. They label it unfair. They give up, not because they're incapable, but because they were never taught that difficulty is part of the deal. We are not meant to glide through life unchallenged. We are meant to grow through it, violently if necessary. And yes, that growth hurts. But so does staying weak. So does staying small. So does never becoming the version of you that was meant to lead, to rise, to carry weight. So here's the new rule. Stop hoping life gets easier. It won't, and it shouldn't. Because everything you admire about others, their resilience, their calm, their inner power, was built in the fire. They didn't get that from ease. They earned it through endurance, through struggle, through falling and getting up again and again. And you can too, but only if you stop begging for the path to be smooth and instead start building better legs to walk it. This is not about glorifying pain. It's about respecting it. Understanding that discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. And only those brave enough to walk through it get to level up. Most people are spectators in their own lives. They watch, they wish, they whine. But not you. Not anymore. You're not here to hope for ease. You're here to become unshakable. You're here to train in the hard so that when life hits, and it will, you don't fold. You don't beg. You don't disappear. You rise. Because you built yourself for the storm, not the sunshine. And when you do that, when you stop praying for an easier day and start preparing for a stronger you, everything changes. You stop being a victim. You stop waiting to be saved. You become the kind of person life respects. The kind of person who bends reality by refusing to be broken by it. So today, kill the fantasy. Burn the wish for ease. Replace it with a deeper, more powerful prayer. Not make it easier, but make me stronger. That one mindset shift will rebuild your life from the inside out. Let's get one thing straight. Life doesn't owe you clarity. It doesn't come with a map, and most of the time, it doesn't make sense. You can't control the economy. You can't control other people's choices. You can't stop heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or chaos. But there's one battlefield that belongs entirely to you, your mind. And until you take full command of that space, you will always be a slave to circumstances. Because what breaks people is rarely the problem itself. It's their response to it, their interpretation, their belief that pain means failure, that struggle means they're falling behind, that the pressure they feel is a signal to stop. But what if it isn't? What if pressure is actually a signal to step up? What if the pain isn't a punishment, but a process? That's the lens shift. That's where strength begins, not outside, but inside. Not with controlling the world, but with mastering how you think about it. Here's the truth most people avoid. You can have a broken past and still build a solid future. You can have scars and still be a warrior. You can be surrounded by problems and still find peace if you own the space between your ears. That's the real arena. That's where the war is won. You can train your body, level up your skills, gather money and resources. But if your mind collapses under pressure, none of that matters. Strength is not what you post on Instagram. It's not what you show when everything's fine. It's what you access when everything falls apart. And to do that, you need to build mental armor. That starts with brutal honesty. Stop telling yourself the story that you're not good enough or that everything would be better if only. If only your boss changed. If only your childhood were different. If only the timing were better. If only people treated you right. That thinking? That's the prison. And as long as you stay in it, you will never rise. So tear it down. Replace it with a new narrative, that no matter what's happening out there, I decide what happens in here. I decide how to respond. I decide what this moment means. I decide whether this breaks me or builds me. Because mindset is not some fluffy motivational quote. It's survival. It's your last line of defense when the world stops making sense, and it's the only thing that separates the ones who rise from the ones who get crushed. Everyone has reasons to quit. Everyone has moments where doubt screams louder than hope, but not everyone listens. Not everyone folds. The strongest people you admire, they're not fearless, they're just trained. They've trained their minds to interpret fear as fuel, pain as preparation, discomfort as a teacher. And you can do the same. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control how you show up, your energy, your thoughts, your inner dialogue. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to keep showing up to fight them, day after day, with discipline, with intention, with the belief that how you think shapes what you become. So ask yourself right now, what do I focus on? What story am I repeating in my mind? Am I shrinking in fear or standing in fire? Your mind can be your prison, or it can be your fortress. It can destroy your confidence or multiply it. It can make you a victim of every inconvenience or the master of every response. You choose. And the stronger your mind gets, the less you'll need life to be easy. Because when you own your thinking, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Not because you control everything, but because nothing controls you. And that's where freedom lives. Not in what happens, but in how you face it. Not in perfect circumstances, but in an unconquerable mindset. So don't waste another day waiting for life to cooperate. Train your mind, control what you can, and let the world throw what it wants. Because you're not built to crumble, you're built to rise. Strength isn't something you ask for. It's something you build, one repetition at a time. And life, whether you realize it or not, is the gym. Every struggle you face is a set. Every challenge is a rep. Every setback is weight being added to the bar. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The question is, what muscle is this moment trying to grow? See, we all want to be stronger, but most people reject the very thing that makes them stronger. Resistance, pressure, pain, fatigue, failure. But that's how strength works. You don't grow when it's easy. You don't transform when it's comfortable. Transformation only happens under tension, under force, under resistance that demands you become more than you were yesterday. And the people who understand that, the ones who embrace the hard reps instead of avoiding them, those are the ones who rise, the ones who adapt, the ones who become unshakable. Think of your worst moments, the betrayals, the loneliness, The nights where it felt like no one had your back. You survived. You might still carry the scars, but you walked through the fire and came out standing. That wasn't weakness. That was a rep. That was one more layer of resilience being built into your soul. You just didn't see it that way yet, but now you do. Now you know that every difficulty is an opportunity. Brutal, yes, but an opportunity to level up. That hard conversation you've been avoiding, that's a rep for your courage. That long day when no one sees your effort, that's a rep for your discipline. That moment you want to quit but don't, that's a rep for your grit. And these aren't small things. These are the reps that shape who you are, not just what you do, but who you become. Too many people want the outcome without the workout. They want confidence without challenge, mastery without failure, strength without struggle. But that's not how this game works. You don't get to skip the grind and still claim the glory. You can't fake reps. You can't shortcut growth. Every ounce of real strength comes from effort that wasn't optional. You chose to keep going when you could have backed off. That's where power is born. And the beautiful part? Every time you do it, every time you push through one more rep, you change your identity. You go from, I'm not sure I can, to, I know I can handle this. You go from, this is too much, to, I'm built for more. And it's not just about getting stronger physically or mentally. It's about who you become emotionally, spiritually, in the quiet places no one sees. That's where true strength lives. It's the person you are when no one's watching, when the cameras are off, when the audience is gone, when it's just you and the weight of the world, and you don't flinch. That's earned. That's forged in repetition. So next time life hands you a situation you don't like, don't just wish it away. Don't shrink. Don't resist the weight. Lift it. Push it. Get under it. Because that's your training. That's your rep. That's your next layer of power being installed in real time. And if you keep showing up to the set, even when it burns, even when it feels impossible, what felt heavy today will be your warm-up tomorrow. That's growth. That's adaptation. That's what makes you untouchable. Don't envy the strong. Outlift them, outlast them, outrep them in the gym of life. And when the world wonders how you became so unshakable, so composed, so powerful, it won't be a secret. It'll be simple. You just never skipped a set. You turned pressure into fuel. You turned pain into reps. You turned resistance into power. That's the blueprint. That's the mindset. So next time life adds more weight, don't wish it was lighter. Just remind yourself, this is how I get stronger. We've been brainwashed into chasing perfection. Flawless routines, flawless bodies, flawless outcomes. But perfection is a lie. An illusion that keeps you frozen, stuck in fear, afraid to fail, afraid to start. The real power? It's not in being perfect. It's in being resilient. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who fall, break, bleed, and get back up, again and again, with grit, with scars, with nothing left but the decision, I'm not done yet. Perfection tells you to wait until everything is just right. Resilience tells you to move anyway. Perfection whispers, you're not ready. Resilience growls, you'll figure it out while moving. And that's the difference between the person who talks about strength and the one who becomes strong. Perfection asks, what if I fail? Resilience says, what if I do? And come back stronger. Because you will fail. You will fall. You will get knocked flat by life when you least expect it. But that's not the end. That's the middle. The failure is never final unless you quit. And resilience is what keeps you in the ring long enough to win. Look around. People hide their scars, their detours, their disasters, pretending like they've always had it together. But strength doesn't come from what you hide. It comes from what you survive, from what you walk through, from what you overcome even when no one claps for you. That's the test. Will you keep showing up after you've been humiliated? Will you keep working after the door slammed in your face? Will you keep trusting your process when the results are nowhere to be seen? Resilience isn't pretty. It's not glamorous. It's messy, quiet, and raw. It's making a decision every single day to rise, not because you feel strong, but because you've made a vow to yourself. I will not be defined by this moment. I will outlast it. I will rise through it. I will become something because of it. That's what separates the elite from the average. Not talent, not luck, not privilege, bounce back, the ability to stand in your ruins and start again, not weaker but wiser, not bitter but sharper. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Stop thinking strong people always feel ready. They don't. They just act anyway. They show up. They rebuild. They refuse to let the fall be the finale. And so should you. You want strength? Train your comeback. You want power? Practice rising. Over and over. Until bouncing back isn't an accident. It's your default mode. Because when the world sees someone who keeps rising from what should have destroyed them, they don't see imperfection. They see someone to fear, someone to respect, someone who has become bulletproof not by avoiding pain, but by walking through it and carrying the lesson. You weren't built to be perfect. You were built to be resilient. Your worth is not measured in how few mistakes you make. It's measured by what you do after the worst happens. So rewrite the rule book. Stop chasing flawless. Start chasing formidable. The world doesn't need more people pretending to be perfect. It needs more warriors with the courage to fall and still rise. This is the truth you've been avoiding, the truth that deep down you've always known. You weren't made for easy. You weren't made to coast. You weren't made to float through life untouched. That's not your story. And it's time to stop pretending it is. The life you want, the strength, the peace, the presence, the power, doesn't come when things get easier. It comes when you get stronger. That's the shift. That's the identity transformation. You stop seeing yourself as someone life happens to and start becoming someone who moves through life like a force, with direction, with purpose, with the grit to absorb the blow and keep moving. Because easy? It never made anyone great. Easy builds entitlement. Easy breeds weakness. Easy tricks you into believing that comfort is the goal, when in reality, it's the greatest threat to your evolution. The people who live for easy spend their lives running from pain, avoiding discomfort, dodging the very experiences that would forge them into greatness. They don't live. They wait for the perfect time, for perfect conditions, for life to finally give them permission. But the strong, they don't wait. They decide. They don't wish for circumstances to change. They become the type of person who adapts regardless of the circumstances. That's what this whole journey has been about. Not tips, not tricks, not motivation, identity. You stop wishing to feel better. You start becoming better. You stop praying for light burdens. You train for stronger shoulders. And when life throws fire your way, you walk through it. Not because it's easy, but because you've become the kind of person who no longer flinches. That kind of strength cannot be gifted. It must be earned, rep by rep, struggle by struggle, fall by fall, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you're not the same. You don't fold like you used to. You don't beg like you used to. You don't shrink from pressure. You welcome it. You hunt it. Because you understand now. Pressure builds diamonds. Pain grows power. Resistance reveals who you truly are. And who you are is no longer fragile. Not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. You've traded comfort for capability. You've traded shortcuts for strength. You've stopped chasing ease, and you've started embodying excellence. That's the final shift. The one no one sees, the one that doesn't trend on social media, the one that doesn't get likes or applause. But it changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you respond to chaos, how you show up when life gets violent and dark. And instead of wishing it would go away, you rise. Not perfectly, but powerfully, unshakably, with fire in your eyes and weight on your back, and a voice inside that says, "Give me more. I was built for this." So from here forward, kill the wish for easy. It's dead. Let others chase comfort. Let others run from the work. You've made your choice. And that choice is strength. Over and over. In the dark. In the quiet. When no one claps. When no one watches. Because that's when real growth happens. Not when things are smooth, but when things are savage, and you still rise. Not because it's fun, but because it's who you are now. Don't wish for easy, wish to be stronger, and then make it true.